a question here too about how to work with youth who strive really hard to be successful. You've named your students are kind of in this camp, and that's shocking, right? And that's true even for high schoolers and middle schoolers as well. So I know of seventh graders who are talking about what kind of classes they want to be in eighth grade so that they can get to the honors and AP classes in high school, and the rat race continues. So, what would you say? What kinds of tips would you give us for helping youth focus instead on things that actually are good metrics for their happiness, while also knowing it's not just the youth, it's the parents who kind of feed
Yeah.
some of this rigmarole?
Yeah, totally. And I think the parent point is really critical. In fact, when we started the project of doing content for high school students, one of my implicit goals was actually to get this content to parents because I think, students often see this stuff, right? Like they see that this stuff is stressful, it's not helping them, and it's hard for them to push back because the parents, I think incredibly, well intentioned. I'm very compassionate towards the parents. Like, meritocracy is tough, right? And you want to do everything for your kid and you like think that the root there is like, kind of worrying about their grades and their accolades and all this stuff. And what you're doing is creating like mental health issues that might stick around for the entirety of your kid's life without realizing it. And it's deeply sad that that's happening, but that's kind of what happens. And so, how to fix this? I think one of the ways I've found works well, both with students and with parents, although it feels a little icky to engage with, because I want students to like want to embrace happiness and their well-being in its own right. But the data that I started with that like actually happiness matters for your bottom line does convince parents. When you say you want your kids to get good grades, what's one way? If they have a positive emotional style, like if they're mentally happy, like that's going to impact their grades positively, right? You want them to get a good job. Actually, their mood at 18 is going to predict their job in their 30s, right? Like people, like that's like, whoa, like again, that's not the reason I want people to like, I want people to do it. But when my Yale students hear that, when I put up the graph of like, you're killing yourself with a million econ classes and like, things to boost your resume and making yourself miserable. And actually, your mood might be a stronger predictor of what happens in your 30s of your job and your salary. Like, that's like a whoa moment. And, I showed you job statistics, but the same if you read Alfie Kohn's work is really true for grades too, right? Like, again, the kids with the best well-being are having the best grades. Like parents want their kids to be optimistic. They want their kids to have good self-esteem. Good grades aren't the path to that. So I think trying to educate parents so they realize that this stuff is important for the bottom lines they care about, um, and trying to get them to this idea that sometimes you can get off track a little bit. Like what parents want is for their kids probably to have like a meaningful, happy life, right? They just think the path to that is like frantically obsessing over grades, and you can kind of bop them back to the right track and sort of show them how off track they go.